T was Memorial Day weekend, and my friends and I decided to rent a secluded cabin by the lake for a getaway. The house was about 3 hours from the city, buried deep in the woods of North Carolina. It was a steal on Airbnb, mostly because of its isolation. My friends, Callie, Jamie, Crystal, Rich, Adam, and I all piled into Adam's truck, ready for a weekend of drinking and partying by the water. The highlight of the place was the spacious deck with a hot tub that overlooked the lake, along with a fire pit surrounded by Adirondack chairs right by the shore. The Airbnb host had left instructions for us. The key to the driveway gate was hidden behind the mailbox. We found it easily, and the truck rumbled over the gravel driveway as we approached the cabin. As soon as we unpacked, we wasted no time popping open beers and turning up the music. We played beer pong, cornhole, grilled food, and enjoyed the complete freedom of being far from any neighbors. With little to no phone reception, we were cut off from the outside world. A welcome change, or so we thought. As the sun dipped below the trees, we gathered around the fire pit, the music still blaring. That was when we heard it. A voice cutting through the music from the edge of the woods. A middle-aged woman with short hair emerged, her face twisted with anger. She yelled at us to lower the music, ranting about how tourists always trashed the lake and disturbed the peace. We quickly turned the volume down and apologized, but when Jamie asked if she lived nearby, she didn't answer. Instead, she just muttered something about outsiders never learning and disappeared back into the dark woods. It was eerie, but we laughed it off and carried on with our night. After all, she was just a local who didn't like outsiders partying near her home. Right? An hour or so passed, and then we heard something new. A voice coming from the lake. Help! We froze. The music stopped. The voice called out again, desperate, pleading. Adam and I grabbed the kayak resting against the dock and paddled toward the sound. As we rowed deeper into the lake, the voice seemed to move farther away. The more we followed, the more distant it became, until suddenly it stopped. Nothing but silence surrounded us. The only light came from the cabin, now a small, glowing dot at the shore. Then, piercing through the silence, came blood-curdling screams from the house. Jamie and Crystal. We turned the kayak around, paddling frantically back. By the time we reached the shore, everything was quiet again. The fire pit was still burning, but our friends were gone. We ran inside, checked every room, called their names. No response. No signs of a struggle, just emptiness. And then my phone rang. It was Rich. His voice was frantic, nearly drowned out by the sound of heavy breathing and crunching leaves. He whispered that 2 men, wearing masks and carrying axes, had emerged from the woods. They chased them, forcing them to scatter into the trees. Before I could get more information, the call cut out. Adam and I jumped into his truck, speeding down the road in search of them. The first house we found had its lights on. Desperate, we ran to the front door and knocked. No answer. Then, through the window, we saw her. The same woman from before, standing in the living room, completely still, staring directly at us. We yelled for help, but she didn't move, not even a twitch. Her eyes were dark, hollow. There was something deeply, disturbingly wrong. The moment stretched too long, and suddenly we both felt an overwhelming urge to run. Just as we reached the truck, my phone rang again. It was Rich. "We're safe for now," he panted. "We ran down the road and hid in the woods, but those guys, they were coming for us. They had axes, were hiding right off the road. Come get us, now." We sped down the road until we saw them emerge from the trees, shaken but unharmed. We scooped them up and drove straight to the nearest police station, explaining everything. By the time authorities arrived at the Airbnb, there was no sign of any masked men, and no evidence of forced entry. The woman's house, empty. The police dismissed it as paranoia, maybe a prank. But we knew what we saw. We knew what we heard. Something out there wanted us gone. Or worse, we never looked back. We got our refund after a long fight with Airbnb, but none of us could ever explain what happened. Was it a setup? A warning? A trap? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is I don't do remote getaways anymore.